Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the best strength build in Code Vein 2 for the early to mid game. Honestly, strength is really fun and mobile in Code Vein 2. With a lot of weapons having some pretty powerful and long-reaching swipes, they also can have a fast dodge on them too, which is just incredible, like this Mjolnir Hammer here, which if you get the charge attack off, lets you jump up in the air and then slam back down on top of the enemy. And it comes with a very powerful skill and it's obtainable early on in the game. And I highly recommend this weapon. It's really easy to get to. Once you come to the first aisle over here after Magmel, you're going to just come south and there's going to be a minion right here that you can purchase it from. And this is the weapon that I would recommend. However, there are a lot of other great ones and hammers and other, even two-handed swords we can use for this strength build. With the Primordial Greatsword being one that I recommend. This is a light moveset, which is great for dealing with groups of enemies with these large sweeps. And then it also has a really useful charge attack here, which is a poke, which is great if you dodge back from a boss and then pull into the charge heavy attack like this. And the Primordial Greatsword does scale on strength, dexterity, and mind. I've also had some fun with the Dryad Blade of the Forest Spirit if you like a druidic style playthrough. And the Nameless Greatsword is great as well with a higher strength burden. For later on in the game, the Obliterator Axe is great because it has a very high strength scaling with 22 strength burden, however. I'm going to recommend the Mjolnir Hammer, however. This is my favorite weapon, but you could also roll with the Old Engraved Hammer here, which is a weapon similar to some of the others that upgrades with the light runestones. So it gets pretty hefty upgrades here, and you can see it has a attack of 846 with this build, whereas the Hammer and Mjolnir only has 793. I also like the huge hammer here, and this one isn't fully upgraded, but it is a very high strength requirement. So my personal preference is Mjolnir here with a C+ scaling and strength and dexterity when you have it upgraded, and relatively low cost. What's nice about this is there's actually a way to get a very quick dodge when you don't have this fully upgraded, which I'm in the mid-later part of the game. But our blood codes is what determines that. Now, one of the best, as I mentioned, is Josee's bloodline. If you can get this to level 2 here, it has a 21 in the strength here. And what's nice about that is you're going to, at early levels, be able to get a very quick dodge off with this weapon. So you can see it here. I got the quick dodge effectiveness after shuffling around some of my boosters here, and that's by having all of our burdens below half here. So strength being the closest one, because the Mjolnir Hammer does take a 10 in our strength to be able to equip it. This one comes with 21. You won't be able to do that with the Josee's Bloodline 1, so make sure you upgrade this and then go talk to Josee before you finish her quest line there. But it can also be gotten later on in the game. This gives us a pretty solid overall strength, and the stats just fit very nicely for the early to mid game, partially due to that dodge effectiveness. The quick dodge is just so nice to have. Now, it does have the overburden effects. We don't have any of these, but it would give charge, drain, attack, power up. Those are whenever you get the critical hits, when there's a red circle when you locked onto the enemy and you do that like critical style attack. And what's great about this is we actually had the mind margin of 10 here. So with this, since we had that 10 gap there, we get that stamina recovery increased speed, which is really useful for survivability. However, we also have the strength and mind margin 8 with this. So Ichor gain from weapon attacks, but Ichor overflow deals recoil damage. So what this means is basically, since we have a strength and mind margin of the 8 there, so we have 8 points in between these or more, we are going to end up taking damage if we gain Ichor, which is what we use to cast our spells. But we also gain it from basic weapon attacks, and this is actually really good. You just have to be mindful because you can hurt yourself pretty easily. So what this looks like is we go around attacking. You can see I'm actually taking damage now because I have full Ichor. So this requires you to constantly be buffing yourself or using your skills here. Otherwise, you'll end up taking damage, which is obviously not something you want to do. So that is one caveat to this playstyle, is you got to be constantly managing your Ichor. But honestly, that's not too bad as long as you're not using your jail too much and just keeping an eye on it, spamming your skills, which this one has a really good skill. You can just continually keep spamming here with a dodge, kind of similar to the Bloodhound's Finesse. This won't be too much of a deal. Just keep an eye on it. Once we get to higher levels, the one-armed hero Lyle, which you do have to take out a bit of a later game boss, or mid-game, this has a very high strength score of 26. However, it does have a strength burden of +8, which does obviously push things into not the great territory. So we don't get that fast dodge off on here, but any overburden effect will give us faster charged attacks, which is pretty crazy. We're close to pushing it on the mind, so if you were to equip any item that gives you the overburden on your mind, that is totally fine and will give us a faster attack. And now equipped with the overburden, you can see this faster time is not super fast, but it is quicker. And charge attacks are so nice in this game because sometimes it's just good to be able to wipe an enemy out quickly, or if you're fighting a boss and the enemy is aggroed onto your teammate, you can come in and get these charge attacks off quicker, which you can see do great amounts of damage. So having it come out faster is nice, but it's something you need to play around with to see if it suits your playstyle. And funny enough, if you get the Hero Holly the Reaper as well, since this has a very high dex score, you could actually use this and get more DPS out of it, despite you would have less overall health points. So it's an option out there, but it's mostly used for dex builds. And obviously Josee's increased ones if you can get those, but between the one-armed hero Lyle and Josee, we got two good draw options here, and I personally like to go with Josee's, because I find that quick dodge is really nice in Code Vein 2. Now for offensive Formae, the Blood Reaver Blade is so incredibly broken. You don't even need to upgrade it that much. The damage that this king can do is crazy. It can chunk away enemies' health bars, bosses, and you name it. Basically, you go and buy this from, if you go to Magmel Island after being Josee, you go to the left right as soon as you get in there, and the damage. Basically, you go and then whenever that flash is there, you want to release it. That wasn't the perfect release, but you saw it one-shot that enemy, and it's common you'll be one-shotting people with this. You can use the bow or the axe, but I do think the axe does fit similarly to how our weapon does, and the Blood Reaver Blade just has so much mobility. You could also use the Absolute Executioner here, because if you're using the one-armed hero Lyle, if you use that Bloodline, you do get a benefit to it, so the Ichor cost is reduced when using that. And for our defensive Formae, I think that honestly we want to keep our burdens away as much as possible. If you throw on the Shield of Stupor, that does give you an easy willpower one, but I think it's best to have the quick dodge on this setup, because having a fast-moving hammer that also hits hard and we have good movement speed and dodges is very important. So you could use the parry one as well if you like to go with a parry-style play. But I think getting quick dodges and not focusing on shielding just works a bit better here, especially since this game's dodge is quite generous. Now, the jail that I would highly recommend using is Bat. Now, there's other ones that are fun, like Ogre comes off the quickest to get your blood back. The Ivy can be pretty useful, and even the Reaper is nice with the parry effect. But Bat is just so good because it hits from range, and it gives you this dodge backwards, so you can avoid attacks sometimes. But it's just an easy way to be able to get your blood back, which is nice because sometimes you need to play a bit more defensively if you're looking for a buff or something. So yeah, this also fits well with the burden that it brings, most at 4 points for the willpower there and 2 for our mind, vitality, and fortitude. So it fits alongside this build well, but the main thing with this one is the fact that we can do it from range, and the damage is nice. It does a bit of damage over time. Now for the boosters that I have equipped on this build, I like the strength booster. If you can get a +5 one, that's obviously a bit better. They do come with some costs, so just be mindful of that. I also have the willpower boost, because this slight boost of willpower is actually what's giving us that quick dodge. And then I got the seasoned runner here, so sprint stamina cost down and max stamina up with the stamina maximizer. Now, again, the reason that I want to use the willpower one is just to give ourselves that gap there. You see that little bar. We need to have all of these underneath that half to be able to get a quick dodge. I will mention the two-handed sword mastery booster is really nice if you are going to be using like the primordial greatsword or any of the other weapons. And devotion for the Blood Reaver Blade attack power increase is also extremely good. So for combat, we want to take advantage of the fast moveset and the mobility that we get from our charged heavy attacks, but also using our attack here can be pretty effective with the explosion that it gives. It's actually large in its effect, and you see there we actually were able to dodge an attack with our charged heavy. Getting a bit ahead of myself here. The Formae we want to put on our weapon. Now, the Mjolnir Hammer comes backdraft equipped automatically. You can put this on things like the Primordial Greatsword too. It is actually really good. So two-handed weapons. This one does that explosion there that you saw at the start. And what this does is basically does a huge area of effect attack, and it gives you a jump back, which is great for that mobility. Now, I also like to throw on Mighty Smash as well. This is a higher Ichor cost, and you can actually hold this down to do a higher amount of damage. So this one can be pretty effective. I also want to quickly mention conservation, because I'm going to take this one off. This will temporarily reduce the stamina consumption of the weapon, which is really good because you can just go in and button mash. However, if you take damage, this will end. And here's what Mighty Smash looks like with the charged up. It looks amazing. Like, the attack is awesome, and that's the fast one. So this is one that you want to charge up if possible, because the damage increase is quite large. And then to reduce the stamina cost, you just pop that there, and then whenever we're attacking, it's not going to consume stamina, which is great if we want to just get in and start spamming attacks. I do also want to mention Venomous Shot here with a 3 Ichor cost. This is good because we can put Venom on the enemy and then just play a little more defensively and let the damage over time affect it. What's great about this is it can be cast from range, and then we can use the bats to be able to get our blood back and then continue to keep casting more. You can also go with Hunting Feast to increase our bleed factor, or Venom Mark or Flame Weapon. I've had a lot of fun with the Flame Weapon there just against certain enemies. But the last one I mentioned is the Gaia Impact. Now this is come stock on a few other hammers here, but this one will jump up into the air. It's very satisfying. Kind of similar to Lion's Claw, so you do this big jumping attack there. So yeah, you can chain all of these around and do some pretty crazy stuff with them because the Hammer moveset is just so versatile and it hits hard, especially with that charge heavy, almost feeling like it is a skill itself with that mobility that you get. And yes, you can dodge attacks easily with it. So if you charge up the hammer attack, be mindful that you can get hit out of it, but you saw there, it one-shot. A lot of these attacks do crazy amounts of damage or have some form of movement and mobility built into them. But honestly, the charge heavy attack is just so good, especially because you can do that final slam there, which all but guarantees that you're going to land your attack. So it's really great. I also like this Lion's Claw type attack just because that flipping and movement gives you some extra survivability. So yeah, that is the ultimate strength build in Code Vein 2. If this video is useful, please hit the subscribe button below. Hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll catch you all in the next video.